So Eddie Howe held his press conference today ahead of that big game against Leeds United, New Year's Eve. That is how Newcastle will sign off 2022 with a big Premier League clash against a team who, I suppose, you've got to look at it and say, will come here a little bit desperate after a defeat against Man City the other night. So tough game in store, but I think really when you look at Eddie Howe's press conference today, what he was talking about, what he was asked about probably the most today was about the transfer window and whether he's going to change his plans because of the injury to Jonjo Shelvey. I guess you've got options in midfield still without Shelvey. 2 months to me isn't a long time, but by the same token, Eddie Howe's team are in a race for the Champions League. So you would think if he could bring in another midfielder, he's not going to turn that chance down. And from his point of view, he's got Sean Longstaff, he's got Bruno Guimaraes, he's got Joe Willock, he's got Joe Linton who can play there. He's got the four midfielders who could probably play in the three midfield positions. You've got Elliot Anderson as well, the youngster. So there's plenty of options, but today he was asked if he would alter his transfer plans. He didn't say no, he wouldn't. He basically spoke about how it was ever changing, how it was getting assessed, how he was reflecting on what was going to happen next in the transfer window. I personally, as I said yesterday, I think Newcastle are going to have a good January window. I think they've got lots of options there. I think they're not panicking. It's very different to where they were last season. But overall, I think really from Howe's point of view, he just needs to freshen it up a little bit. Needs probably a couple of new faces, 2 or 3 maybe. I think would be probably the dream for the supporters, just to see that progress continue. And yeah, from Eddie Howe's point of view today, he felt that nothing was sort of set in stone. He was disappointed for Shelvey, but he also didn't rule out possibly bringing in somebody to replace him. Other talking points: Callum Wilson back in training. He had an illness and missed the game against Leicester, the 3-0 win. So he's back in training. He'll be assessed today. But really, there's no pressure to change the attack, with Chris Wood doing quite well at the moment. Eddie Howe had big words for him. Said he's probably played his best football in the last few weeks. So that's certainly something he can, lean towards. Chris Wood, going in against his old club as well, Leeds. He won't need any motivation to do well in that game. I think he made his debut against Leeds last season, and I think he was getting a few taunts from the Leeds fans. So hopefully he'll be trying to this time get on the score sheet against Leeds, his old club. Wants to stay. Eddie Howe seems like he wants to keep him. So I guess why wouldn't you? He came in January. He hasn't done too badly. He hasn't been prolific, but then Newcastle weren't exactly going for the jugular in the early part of his time at the club. So I think for me, Chris Wood has done very well. He's certainly done very well this season. I think he's had 5 starts. He's got 3 goals. I think going into this game, he's probably looking for one from open play, but we'll see what happens. And yeah, Eddie Howe's probably got, despite having a couple of injuries, his team potentially picks itself against Leeds United. And there was a quick word on the form Newcastle are in. They're in the best form since 95-96, a long time ago. No team has had more points than the 95-96 team after 15 games than Eddie Howe's team have now. So yeah, 33 points after 15 games, a very good record. That 95-96 team actually had 38, but we all know what happened later in the season when they had a bit of a sticky patch just sort of around the Easter time, and that's obviously what cost them the title. Again, Eddie Howe asked today, could he win the title? He basically, the best way to deal with it was, from his point of view, was say that he wasn't going to sit there and say they can't win the title. So that's, look, it's great that the manager's, keeping everything active. They're still in the 2 cup competitions. They're still in the race for the Champions League. They are still in the title race. Whatever way you want to look at it, they're still in the title race. They've got to go to Arsenal. That's the big game. That's the key game for me. You obviously need to beat Leeds, but if you go to Arsenal and get something there, then you know you emerge on the other side of it, and you're going into the new year as part of the title conversation. You know, Arsenal still got to come to Newcastle as well. So lots of positivity, lots of transfer talk, but really the big thing, Eddie Howe, going for those 3 points against Leeds to end the era in style.